I'm just experimenting while I'm waiting for everyone to arrive. So I right-clicked and added a layer style, and I chose satin. Test 1, 2, 3, test 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to try putting an expression in the angle. The time expression, time asterisk. Let's try 250. Here's my white arrow. I can click out of it. Yep, I knew that would give constant motion to that. Let's try and slow it down by changing from 250 to 50. Click out the expression. Now it's more subtle. Interesting. I'm just trying to find ways of being creative and pushing some ideas. Now, to avoid any problems, I'm going to pre-compose this. Because remember, when I click, I put a solid there. When I click this right here, that shows the alpha. So this is negative space. There's nothing in it. This is where the image is. And this red box around it, it's always going to be a square or rectangle. That is the bounding box. So I'm pre-composing this that the bounding box goes all the way to the edges. I'm going to move all attributes. See, now my bounding box is to the edges. So now when I put a light effect on, it's going to be correct. Do light rays. And since I'm using light, I'm going to hold down Alt or Option, click there, go to 32 bits per channel. This right here is what's going to drive the effect. There. Soften it up a little bit. So if I move this, that's going to fix that. So what I'll do is I'll animate the center. Here's my keyframes. Let's try light burst in addition to that. This is the one that takes a long time to render, so I'm not even going to bother with that. I'm getting something pretty interesting with it, nonetheless. See what Halo Alpha is going to do. Good evening. No problem at all. I'm recording this anyway, so. I'm going to be starting in a little bit.
Yeah, I'm going to call it you and read the recording.
Okay, thank you. That's pretty interesting. Do something with that. Have this come down like that. And then I'm going to bring in the height from here. Is that it? Nope, wasn't the height. Was it the cone angle? Yes, it was the angle. Okay. So I just did it to the part where it's completely off the type. And then I like the way it looked at 10 for the angle. Add a little bit of drama to it. Good evening, everybody. So I was just messing around, waiting for everyone to arrive. I just did a light rays effect. Well, so first, I put satin on here and as a layer style. And with that, I put the time expression so that's constantly rotating around in the type, like giving it an edge light. I did a light rays moving straight down, and then I keyframed in a spotlight just to give a little bit of a pop to this type. I was just messing around with some ideas while waiting. All right, so now we can begin the lecture. All right, so I'm going to start off with a recap of look at this, edit that, because tonight we're going to be doing compound effects. I'm going to create a new comp, and I'll call this look at this, edit that. I'm going to add a solid. This will be our fractal. I'll put fractal noise into it. That. Okay, and then I'll put a text layer. There's our text. There's the fractal. Now, I'm going to put a displacement map on the type. And we're going to use the fractal layer. I'm going to precompose it so that there's no problems down the road. And right here, my displacement map, I choose the effects in the mask. So now, to look at this, edit that working, I go to the fractal, click on the effect, and I click the padlock here. So when I go back here, I still have the fractal instead of the displacement, so I can start dialing in my look. Which is how look at this, edit that works. So that's a little too dark. And I'll add an expression here. The time expression, time asterisk. Let's try 150. Click out the expression. I held down Alt or Option to get that. Okay, so I'm going to turn off look at this, edit that. Go back here and adjust my displacement. So I was able to see what that looks like. I could turn this back on now that I have some displacement. And I'm back at look at this, edit that mode. I could make the scale of my fractal larger, and I can see it update automatically into my type. That's how look at this, edit that works. Like such, and you just click the lock to turn it off. So now I click back on here, I'm on my displacement map, and I can edit my fractal in there if I need to. That's just a quick recap on how look at this, edit that works. We're going to be using it again tonight when we're doing a compound effect, which is wave world and caustics. So a compound effect, 1 second. Test 1, 2, 3. With a compound effect, one effect is driving the other one, sort of like how this displacement map is being driven by the fractal. So I'm going to close these, make a new precomp. I'll call this compound effect, so we all know what we're working with here. Okay, I'm going to need 2 layers, 2 solids. So I just right-clicked in the empty part here to get there. So the first one, we're going to call Wave World. I'm going to hit CMND D to duplicate it. And I'll call this one Caustics. And I'm going to put one effect on each. I'm going to pre-compose the wave world layer. Move all attributes. So what wave world does is it gives an underwater look. And when I show you what it does, you'll recognize it. Some people use it in their logos, they use it in their trailers, they use it for title sequences. It's got a million uses, but once you see it, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. So I'm going to add wave world here. And I'm going to hit the space bar. Wave world is a 3D simulation that moves up and down and side to side to create ripples. Okay? And the way this is going to work, I'm going to switch off of wireframe. We'll go to a height map. And I hit the space bar. What's going to happen here is white, absolute white, is going to be transparent. And what's black, pure black, will displace the image that we put this over. And mid-grays will have varying amounts of displacement. Is there any questions over how the tonal values of this will be driving the effect? No? Okay, because whenever you're using maps, usually white does one thing and black does the opposite of that. Or one will have no effect and the other one will be 100% of the effect. That's just the way that it works. And you use tones to drive your maps. Okay, I'm going to lower my resolution just that my computer runs a little faster. Whoa, that's pretty... was going pretty fine at full, but you might need to lower your resolution to have it work better. And I'm going to start dialing in my effect now. Render dry areas. If I set that as solid, you won't see through the water. I'm going to do transparent so that when we put something below this, we'll see the effect like we're looking through some water with the waves going over it. So that's the first thing I'm going to be changing. Again, with brightness, like I said, whatever is pure white will be transparent, and whatever is pure black will be displacement. Okay? So that's what those settings do. Wave speed is how fast the waves are going. So if that's 0.5 and I change it to 5 instead, it's going at a different pace. So that's what the wave speed does. Damping is how long the waves are going to be living. We're going to put an image in here for the ground. The ground right here. I need a photo for that. And what this is going to do is it's going to go off of tonal values. I'll show you what that means in a second, because, you know, number one rule of motion design is don't tell, show. So for the ground, I'm going to grab let me bring in my images. You could go File, Import File, or you could double click. Okay, so we're going to use the tree for our ground image, just using the tone of that. Oh, I got Adam in here. That's right. I'll put them below, and I'll hide them all. We'll use the tree, and already you see how that changed the look of the water. So if I go none, I've got perfect circles. But by choosing the tree, now it's going to start changing how the water is going because it's interacting with it. See? We've got a completely different look just by using the tones from that image we placed in the scene. But if you just want perfect circles, don't use a ground. Producer, it's just like in particles. You could do ring or a line. We'll do a line to get a harder edge. And with crosshairs, you can place anywhere just by clicking and dragging, rather than trying to figure out the math or scrubbing through with your numbers. And then we can adjust the settings here. So I already came up with some settings earlier from the last time I taught this. I'm going to try that out. Here, I've got different images, so it's going to look different anyway. All right, let's see. For the horizontal, I'll do 0.51. For the vertical, I'll do 20. For the scale, I'll do 0.5. All right, now, brightness. I'm going to make this 0.51. Now we're starting to get, remember, whatever is pure black will be displacement. So I did something with a lot of displacements that you'll be able to see the effect more clearly. You could always dial in your settings to get the look that you want. I'm just doing something very obvious so that there's no questions on what this effect does or how compound effects work. So gamma's your midtones, and you see how now I'm getting a bit more of a crushed looking image. Transparent, good. And then my transparency. Do 0.29. Wow. That's definitely far more drastic now. The simulation, grid res, I'll do 120. And see how that changed the fine quality? We've got a little bit more image to work with rather than just larger blobs of shape. Grid down res, down sample, that's clicked on. Wave speed, to 0.02, that they're going slower. Oh, see, now we're starting to see the tree as the ground image. Like, that's what's causing the shape we're seeing. Now I'm starting to see it. Okay. Damping, 0.01, fine. Reflect edges, I'm going to choose bottom, right, and top. Pre-roll. This means the effect will be already happening. So I'll do 25 for that. Now let's change our settings here. For steepness, I'm going to do, using that tree image, I'm going to do 0.003. See, now it's displacing the water, but we don't see the image as crisply, which is what I did, which is what I wanted. So 0.25 for the height, and then the strength, let's do 0.5. See, now we're starting to see pure black will be displacement. All right, now let's look at our producer settings. We're doing line, which is what I wanted. Height, I'm going to change my height to 15. My width to 20. Amplitude. .7. So now the waves are going up higher. Frequency 6.6. You can see how the image is changing as we do this. We could put in a second producer if we want. But this is the, now I'll lower my resolution. This is the starting point for, oh, that's probably too low. Let's try a third. Now we can see it with the third res. Got a little bit of a shimmering water look happening now. And again, you can dial in whatever look you want by changing the settings that I did. You don't need to have a ground image. You know, I just like the way it adds a little bit more randomness to this. I'm going to lower my res back down to 8-bit by holding down Alt or Option. And that's much better. It was misbehaving too much. Like, it was far too fast. It was nowhere near subtle enough because I was in the wrong bit depth. So I've got a nice effect there. What it looks like in full. Completely different. So to get an idea of what the effect really looks like, you've got to be in full res for that to happen. Any questions on Wave World before I hop into caustics? Okay. I'm going to throw caustics on here, and this is another 8-bit effect. You can tell because the number's on there. Just to let you know, hey, you really should be at 8-bit, not 16-bit. All right, now, the bottom is going to be the logo that we want. Put these on the bottom. I'm going to hide them, just so that they're in the scene and I can select them. All right, the logo we were doing was the logo. I called it that. Okay. Is there a grid behind that? Is that what's happening? Yep. I don't know why people do that. See if I can get rid of it with the Luma key. Threshold is how much is affected by a light replacement. So that's good enough. Now we don't have that distracting us. So we chose our logo image. I'm going to choose repeat mode once, so it doesn't tile itself out like that. Centered. It's fine. Now the water, we're going to choose Wave World right there. And this is what makes it a compound effect. We needed Wave World to plug in as our water surface inside the caustics effect. That is what a compound effect is. We need this second part to work with this other effect. Any questions on that so far? No, okay. Wave height 1. See, now it's changing how it's displacing the logo beneath there. Smoothing, I'm going to try 50. Yep. Now we're seeing it in real time. Water depth, I'm going to do 0.3. Refractive index, 1.1. You can see how it's changing the refraction in the highlights. Surface color, that's what color do we want the water to be? That's what it looks like when you choose black. I'm just going to do black. Why not? Surface opacity, that's how much that color is going to be. Let's try. Let's see what that does if I make it 1. Nope. Okay. Let's knock it down a little bit. What was it originally at? I'm just going to keep it at 0.3. You know what? Actually, surface opacity. I'm going to do. Yeah, I'll keep it 0.3. Caustic strength, I'm going to choose 5. That's pretty intense right there. Let's try 1. What was the original number? 0. I'll try 0.5. Now we're starting to see the light coming into play. I'll try 0.25. There we go. All right. Sky. This is where we choose our sky image. That's the photo we got online. Scaling. If it needs to be scaled up, we can scale it up. I'm going to choose once for repeat mode. I'll keep it at reflected. We're starting to see the stars in the sky. And like I said, we could scale it there if we need to. Center. Okay, intensity. I'm going to try 1.5. Yep, that's how intense the reflection is in the water. Convergence, I'm going to try 10. See what's happening with that at a higher number. You can always go for more subtle by lowering your numbers if you want. I always go big and then I dial it in. Now let's go to lighting. I'm going to do a distance source. Light intensity, I'll try 0.09. Let's see what that looks like. Light height. We'll try 4.9. Ambient, I'm going to make it 1.9. Such. Then material. I'm going to try diffuse 0.81. Specular, I'm going to set to 0.07. And I'm going to keep highlight sharpness. I'm going to try it at 0. And now let's test it out and see what the effect looks like. So we used the tree as an image for ground. The tonal values make it water in an uneven surface to add a little bit of depth difference and some added realism to it. We grabbed a sky image to be reflected in the water using the caustics, and the caustics is using the wave world effect to create the surface of the water. So that's what makes this whole thing a compound effect. I can adjust these settings however I want. Now that I've got my effect looking the way that I want it. And just to recap, I go to Wave World and I click the lock. Now in my compound effect, I can adjust Wave World. So let's see if I make this a much larger number. Hit undo. Let me clear out my disk cache. Go. Now, what's going to happen if I change this to 90? We're not seeing it too much there. So let's try brightness. This is going to be a huge change. I'll do 6. See? Now we're seeing how it automatically updates that. in the caustics effect. I can keep going until I get the look I want. The lower it goes, the more of this grid that I'm seeing. If I don't want that grid look, now I've gotten rid of that. 2.9 was my contrast. What if I add more contrast? It's changing the way the... See, now we're seeing more of the sky. That's the look I wanted. That's how I'd achieve it. Or I could increase the contrast, see less of the sky, and more of the displacement happening. A gamma adjust. Let's see if we crank this up from 0.3. Now we're getting much crisper reflections in the water. Such. Transparency, 0.29. What if I lower that down? Okay. And if I increase it, we're seeing more of the sky in the reflection. That's pretty interesting. So it's really how much of that reflectiveness do you want? Since it's a night sky, it would reflect more because there's less light hitting the water. So I crank that up. I like the way that looks. I like the speed of the waves. Damping. I have 0.01. What's going to happen if I crank that up? See, that's too much. 0.1 instead of 0.01. That's still too severe. I've got tiny little ripples. So I'm going to do 0.02. It's a little better. Now the steepness of the ground, 0.003. Let's make it a little steeper. See, that makes it far more erratic. It's all about dialing in your look using look at this, edit that. I actually like this a little bit better. Height 0.25. Oh, wow. I like that more. Wave strength 0.5. Let's see if I make that 1. Probably not going to notice that until it's animated, so I'll keep it at 1. Save. Render that out. Okay, any questions on that? I'm going to be starting next week post-production. And the general rule of thumb is you want to do as little in post-production as possible. Post-production is incredibly time-consuming. It's a waste of your time. It's a waste of the client's money. They rarely ever want to pay you for the full amount of post-production because no one ever believes you when you tell them how long it took to do the post-production work. We're going to be going over motion tracking, like I showed you a little bit on Tuesday. Face mask tracking, as well as rotoscoping and roto brushing and the content aware fill. So that'll be pretty interesting. And while this is rendering, I'm going to show you something. If I go to files, next week, here's the path for the files we're working off of. Art228 virtual, all slides and art files, rotoscoping. You can't find it, just type in rotoscoping here in the search and it'll pop up. I'm also going to be doing a little introduction to log video footage, so you get some time working with log. We'll be doing color grading and color correcting with it as well in order to get the tracking to work properly. So I'll stop the lecture there so that we can keep rotoscoping together next week and have all that post-production in one lecture or two. Might take two, probably. And that's a far more subtle effect. See if I change this back to 0.5. There we go. That's a bit better. All right, so if anyone has anything to show me, please let me know. Yeah, see, adjusting the height, like lowering the height, gave us more of a wave look. That's far more better. Or I should say that's a far better effect now. So that's where look at this, edit that really is crucial when you start doing more complex motion design. I'm glad you named your After Effects file with your name as well as which assignment it is. Okay, now I don't have this font. That's fine. What you could do... Okay. What you could do next week is, say like right here. Oh, do I have... Okay. So say you have the font on your machine. If you right click and go create shapes from text, that way I can at least see what it looks like. You know what I mean? Yeah, so keep your motion and all that stuff, but just like duplicate the layer and make it shape so I can see it. Am I in the correct comp? Now it looks like my progress bar. See the blue dashed line? So I went up to full res to take a look at this. So I'm going to drop down to a quarter. It looks like the motion's going to stop around the 8-second. Are those particles?
Yeah, they move. It goes to about.
Oh, okay. Oh, great. I'm glad you layered out the shot. Yeah, I saw a little bit of that motion. You could puppet pin the legs so that the legs move a little bit too. What might help is that thing I showed Tuesday, where it was using nulls, putting the pins where the null corners were, using the expression, and then parenting the nulls together. That will keep the volume of the legs. So just a little bit of subtlety with that will help. Like at the feet, like just having the feet move back and forth a little bit with like the calves. We could give that a shot. Now I know we're not at full res, but watch the contrast and clarity of your type. And I know it's not the font, so just make sure that stuff is legible enough. Subtle is fine, but if it should also still be legible. Oh, yeah. You would use the ink. So we'll go. I'll show you. So I'll download one of them. So it's files, the class, and then yeah. So I'm just gonna grab one. I'm grabbing 3. Okay. I'm gonna look at these first 8 seconds. Well, that's fast. Oh no, that's fine. So that's what I'm glad we're looking at now. All right, that is. I'm gonna hit the U key. Are those paint splotches in a particle system?
I think it was in the, I think it
Okay, because that's over there.
was,
It's got to be one of these layers here.
it was in the,
Okay, there we go.
in that black place.
Let me try something here. Okay, can everyone see my screen? All right, that's it. All right, have a great night, everybody. I'm just kidding. Okay, so I'm going composition settings. Now, look what happened here. Starting time code. I'm changing it to 0. I'm zeroing it out. So now it's a little bit easier for me to work off of. Okay, all right. I see what's going on here. Okay, all right. That's coming in and moving about like such. Okay. You could also use some of the ink videos for that too. So OS movie. Let me double click on here. Okay, that's the music box.
There's a music on it.
Gotcha. Okay, here's your particles. All right, now first off, the longevity. If they're up longer, they'll live longer. See how that slowed it down a bit already? So that's the first thing. That's one of the fixes. Let's try lowering your inherent velocity. That's toned it down a lot already. Your resistance is looking pretty good. Now, since this should fill the screen, right? Like that's what I was doing before. So I'm going to up your particle count because I made them live longer. That's changing the way it looks. So you need to fill the screen, correct? All right, so good. They're not fading or anything like that. The depth size. We'll make them get a little bit larger at their depth. And maybe have them come in a little bit smaller. Like that. Let's go slow that down a bit. So is that already looking a little slower to you? Now let's take a look at that resistance. That will move out a little bit more. The velocity, just that they spread out a bit more. Texture faded disc. Okay. There's no rotation. Good. You want a volume shader on it. That adds a bit more depth to it. Take a look at your extras. If we change the birth size, that they're a little bit larger at the beginning. Then your Z. Increase your Z a bit. If we up the Z, it's going to give it more of a smoky look, like a denseness to it. Do you want that? Because if not, you would crush your Z down to 0. Okay. And I'm going to be sending you this file, plus you've got all the changes we're doing here. So, you got a great particle system. We're just honing it in. And then let me try something. I'm going to get experimental. Might not work. If I go pre-compose, no guarantee this will work. Move all attributes. I'm going to right click on it and go time. Let's do time warp. Let's see if we can throw a time warp on that pre-comp. Slow it down a bit. So 100 is full speed. So I'm going to do 70. So it's a little slower. And that's going to change the timing of your when it's coming in and out. So I'm not going to do that. Okay. Go back here. This is the thing we're in. So that's going out like that. Got a little bit of that resolved. Now, the music box you were saying, there's something you're trying to do with that, correct?
In the smoking layer, wait is now.
So you're trying to have it do what with the smoking layer?
I wanted to fade in.
Oh!
As a,
Okay, so you want the particles to reveal it.
yeah.
Okay. All right, no problem at all. So what would happen with that? This is an alpha, right? There's like transparency around it. Okay, so I'm going to duplicate this. I'm going to call it matte. We'll put your particles above it. So the matte is here. Mask goes over your face. Let me pre-compose this so that all the information is inside it. You know what I mean? Like the key and all that. So I just go to the layer below, track matte, alpha matte, and so if I turn this one on, that's popping up like that. So let me see something. So if this is revealing that, and this is right over there. This is okay. So you got two of those in the scene. I'm going to duplicate the particle layer, put it back where it was, so that we're seeing the full particle thing happen. Set that to no track matte. Here comes the particles. And it's revealing the clock or the music box as they form. See that? So I duplicated your particle effect so that we see it on the screen, plus it's being used to reveal the clock. So the shape of the clock is here. That's there. I'm going to hide this so we can see it a little bit more easily. The particles come in. Pretty instant. So it's because of this. Let's drag that out. Now they're filling it up. Back on. Like that. So that slowed it down a bit, and now it's revealing it a little bit more in the way you wanted it to. Yeah, no problem at all. This is going forward, that's going back. Okay, and that moves. All right, good. Now we're back in your main comp, correct? Okay. This stuff over top is one of the video layers, right? Okay. Okay, no problem at all. Okay, so this is probably it right here. Yep. All right. So you've got that effect happening. And what you can do, you're using a screen for that because it's on black, correct? Yep. Okay. Perfect. Screen happening. Or we could try normal. Let's see. Unmolt. There are two of them. Okay, so we'll undo that. We'll go back to screen. And let me try something. If I throw a tint on this, I can change white just for the fun of it. I can make it red. It's going to keep black. You're going to key out the black. And we colorize that. So you could make it any color you want. Tint keeps the tone and it changes the white and the black mapping. I'm keeping black as black so that your screen blending mode keys out the black. And then you can make this whatever color you want. Add a little bit of punch to it. Give it your own look. Such. So that's just a little extra tip there. Right? Now, the next part of this, we've got this idea, and then there's going to be a transition from one thing to the next, correct? Okay, gotcha. So it's a hard cut.
Yeah, but then it always stops
The playback of the video or the music. Okay, so what I would do is I'd go to about here, drag your render bar, purge everything, and then try it again. Because what you're doing is this is so complex and so big, it can only hold so much information. You know what I mean? That's why I cleared out my cache, and I'm saying ignore everything before here, focus on this. So we'll see if it starts rendering again, because it's stopping on mine too, which is weird. That's odd. Like, that's incredibly odd. Okay. So this we looked at. I can close this. We're here, and this is the scene we froze on, correct? Maybe you accidentally put a hold frame in here somewhere. That would freeze it. That's a lot of keyframes. Okay, so I've got my keyframing here. Okay, that's the particles. Try something. I changed this from active camera to default just to try and override stuff. I have another theory. Okay, so cleared up that. I'm going to go here. See, I'm going to zero this out again by going to the composition settings. Maybe since these were different. Oh, and this render bar here. I'm going to move that all the way over. I'm going to close that. Now we're here. I'm going to zero this as well in your start. Now that's playing in here. Okay, so let's take a look at this. This is your scene, right?
Yeah.
And it's playing here, right? So that's working. So here's what we'll do. Got this. Mess up. So I pasted all that in here. I'm going to get rid of these, okay? You do not have anything shy enabled, so there's no hidden layers. These down here, can I get rid of these? Oh, they're coming in. Okay, so yeah. Well, that's coming in later. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete all of these. And then this is the second scene, right? I'm clicking on the hamburger. Reveal composition in progress. I'm going to rename it. So we see where that is, okay? Now when I'm here, it's right there. I'm going to delete it. And I'm going to delete this part too because that's inside here, right? Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut it, paste, and it comes in right about here, right? Okay, good. So oh yeah, so I cut that already. All right. Now this stuff is not in the scene, right? That's the next scene. Okay, so that's already there. I can get rid of this. To swing. That's right there. So you have it in there twice. So I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to select all this. Move into a new comp. Okay, and the music is here for the music box. And the music for your scene, we'll just figure out where that was. All right, so I'm going to close comp 1. Here's main animation. Here's scene 2. Motion. Okay, good. Now we're going to go back here. Go through here. And the cut happens right around here. Let's just say it's here for the fun of it. I'm holding down Shift, snapping it to there. Let's see if this forces it to display now. So do you understand what I did by breaking these up into scenes? Okay, so I took the stuff that's at the beginning of your animation, and I pre-composed it. I called it scene 1. Then I took the stuff for scene 2, and I named it scene 2. So I made a main animation. So now we've got scene 1 and scene 2. So I'm saying roughly this is about where scene 1 stops, and then you'll see scene 2. So let's see something. If I go, I don't want that white. Back, I'm finding the exact frame. 0622. 0622. Good. And I'll trim that. Oh, I'm silly. I had the eyeball off. That. There's some motion. Okay, let's test it out. I'm going to go right here. Move my render bar. We'll give it a go. I think changing all of your scenes to start at 0, 0, and then splitting them apart and making a main animation and throwing them in as sequences may have solved it. We'll find out. It's moving. Okay, it's working. So that did it. There was something in your giant layered scene that was breaking your animation. So I'm going to give you this to fine tune, but at least we've got it working. I put your scene 1 stuff in scene 1, scene 2 and scene 2, and you could just like line them up however you need to. Now see what happens if I render out this part. That looks like it's starting. Looks like some stuff shifted around, right? Yeah, okay, so don't know why that happened. All right, so you're going to have to see where your layers are supposed to start here. All right, we're almost done there. Box. Oh, okay, wait. That's what's doing it. Composition. Composition settings. That's zeroed. Okay, that's weird. Why is that starting there? Okay, so that's the way it should look. It should start off with the table. I'll extend these. That helped fix some of it. Live longer in the scene. So now we're only off by like a matter of frames. Almost right about there. You can figure out where those are going to up. Were there any other parts that let's take a look at that swing. I'm going to duplicate this, solo it. So there is some motion there. You know what you could try? Also watch that these, if I don't know if it's touching a branch or something, but that, okay. Yeah, so what I would do, actually, I think the fastest way of come on, doing this would be in Photoshop. Have this part of the leg like that, and then make this a layer. So you want a little bit of overlap with the knee. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? So like your first layer will go like this and hug the knee, and you'll also do that there. You'll have a duplicate of the leg, and the second layer will go like that, and like that for that one. So you could swing them a little bit side to side, and you won't have any gaps there. That might work too. Yeah, sometimes it's about breaking things into multiple layers to get the motion you want. And obviously you put your anchor point right there where they meet. Just little subtlety, side to side swinging should really help. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. No problem at all. If you've got anything to show me, I'll open it up and then record it. Like, do you have anything to show me? Okay, no problem. If you have any questions over the weekend, just email me and let me know. Okay, excellent. All right, does anyone else have anything to show? So it's 7:30. I'll stop this. Hope you have a great weekend. Okay, so this looks like character value 63 is a question mark. Let's see if I change it. Yep. So you can use that to change your type. If I could find the one that is just dashes, even neater. Oh, that's pretty interesting. Fun. Paste experiment. All right. Well, have a great weekend, everybody. And if you've got anything to show me over the weekend, just email it to me and I'll try and take a look at it. And just keep working on your final projects. Have a great one.